Real estate agents are vultures. This is what I was told recently while hosting an open house of a property that I actually owned and I was selling. It was on the third time that she said that real estate agents were vultures that it dawned on me that this lady probably doesn't think I'm a real estate agent, just am the seller. But if she thinks real estate agents are vultures and was so open about it, then it made me think that a lot of other people probably think this way. No one has flat out said this to me in my entire lifetime, as I grew up in a real estate family and have been an agent for pretty much now most of my life. But then I started thinking about a recent deal of mine, and it got me thinking, maybe the people that think that agents are vultures are right. But more on that and what I think is the solution in a moment. But first, I went to ChatGPT, literally typed in, why do people think that real estate agents are vultures? And this one stung a little because there were like 7 reasons that came up, and it was the fastest query that I think I'd ever seen ChatGPT do. As if the question was just too easy for it. And as a sidebar, let's name my ChatGPT bot Vanessa for the likes of this discussion. It just sounds so much better. The first reason that Vanessa gave was high commissions. She said that many people feel that real estate agents charge exorbitant fees, typically around 5 to 6% of the selling price, and don't have a full understanding of the scope of the work involved. And that buyers or sellers may not realize that agents often work long hours, cover their own marketing costs, and only get paid if a transaction closes. And that if this is what creates a misconception that agents are overcompensated for what appears to be minimal effort. Now, I have to add a little context here. Agents are generally paid half of that 5 to 6% that Vanessa mentioned. Also, agents have to split that fee with their brokerage. So sometimes brokerage split can be upwards of 50%. And if the client was referred to the agent by a company like Zillow or HomeLight, then that 50% is after a 40% referral. So that buyer that came from Zillow who bought a $400,000 house where the agent got paid 2.5% of the sale price didn't do that well. That's $4,000 right off the top for Zillow. Then the brokerage will take $1,800 to $3,000 of what's left. Now, this number really depends on the agent's split. So let's just say that the agent is on the higher side split and paying a 30% split to their brokerage. This means that the actual take home for that agent is $4,200. And that $4,200 is before any expenses and before paying Uncle Sam. Agents don't make the killing you think, but I have a but for that in just a couple seconds. So hang with me. One more thing is that agents give away a lot. All those pretty websites with houses you look at, agents pay for those. They go out to houses giving people estimates on how much they're worth without collecting a dime. They spend time and money on the paper to put together the presentation and the gas to get there. They go and show people property for sometimes years before they buy. And that's if they actually end up buying it all without collecting a dime. It's not all roses, is what I'm trying to say. There is a lot of risk to being a real estate agent, which is why more than 70% of all newly licensed agents are out of the business within just 2 years. Here's the but. My next door neighbors just sold their $3 million house after living there for less than a year. It all happened so quickly as it was a job relocation, but then he just sold this $3 million house in one weekend. So that's $75,000 in the sale of the house, and 11 months ago, she made another approximately $75,000 when they bought the house. This means that agent made $150,000 in fees off those folks in 11 months. Let's agree that in that particular transaction, that agent was probably overpaid. Reason number 2 from Vanessa was conflict of interest. When I saw this one, my head immediately jumped to an agent representing both buyer and seller. It's like, yep, 100% agree. Then I read Vanessa's reasoning as people having the perception of conflicting interest, particularly when agents are motivated to close deals as quickly as possible to secure their commission. And that some buyers and sellers feel that agents push them into decisions that benefit the agent more than the client. Not sure how much I buy this one. I will reiterate and say that there is a 100% conflict of interest when an agent is representing both buyer and seller. And reason number 3 was lack of transparency. I can see people feeling lost in the weeds because their agent does a crappy job explaining the process. I feel like that is just not doing a good job vetting the agent and making sure that their agent is an experienced professional. I don't really see how this makes an agent a vulture, though. I think that this one can be tied under the low industry standards example. Vanessa said that the sales-driven nature was the 4th reason people think that agents are vultures. I mean, I get it. But at the same time, an agent doesn't eat unless they sell. They get no salary. They get no health benefits. It's an industry that is eat or be eaten. I can see how this makes people feel like real estate agents are a vulture, but at the same time, that's industry specific, not agent specific. I personally kind of think this one is a little unfair. Inconsistent standards was number 5. The training to become a real estate agent is a joke. There is more training to become a barber or a massage therapist than a real estate agent, a professional that represents a person what is most likely the largest financial transaction. Yep, I get where people are coming from on this one as well. The outrageous example of an agent being a vulture that I was going to talk about in a couple seconds really feeds into number 6. Now, Vanessa came up with a perceived lack of value as the 6th reason that real estate agents are perceived as vultures. She said that some clients feel that agents don't add enough value to justify their fees. Thinking about our neighbors who shelled out $150,000 in the last 11 months, I'd probably say this is the case with that specific agent who would have a real hard time justifying their value. Quick sales for buyers and sellers with fixed pay structures of a percentage of the value of a house makes this complaint make sense. But for every transaction that is quick, there is one that is a slow sale or one that doesn't happen at all. Blend the two situations and you find an average that probably ultimately benefits the consumer more than the agent. But that doesn't matter because we're talking about the perception of the buying public. This one makes sense here as well because perception becomes reality. And the 7th one that Vanessa came up with was emotional stress of real estate transactions. She said that buying or selling a house is one of the most stressful financial decisions people make, and that during these emotional processes, clients can project their frustrations onto their agents. Now, as an agent, I can testify that this one's true. People can be rude and aggressive and will call and expect their professional to pick up at all times of the day and night, as well as on weekends. Not sure how this one makes a real estate agent a vulture, though. If anything, this one gets filed under the agents aren't treated like other professionals file. Sorry, Vanessa. No sale here. Now, I'm going to tell you, putting the shoe on the other foot kind of hurts, but let's put some perspective on this. The national average income for a real estate agent is $55,800, according to the BLS. That is lower than the average wage for all occupations of $61,900. The average agent isn't exactly getting rich. But I will say from experience, the hours and lifestyle sucks. Are real estate agents vultures? I'd say for the most part, no. Is the industry set up to make it seem like they're vultures? 100%. But listen to this story on a property that I'm personally selling. It's a multiple offer situation, and the agent presents an offer where she's getting a 3% commission. Keep in mind, this is on an $800,000 property. This immediately put her clients at a huge disadvantage and really made me wonder if the buyer had actually agreed to 3%, as it's not legal to put a higher commission in the offer than what's listed in the buyer agency agreement. It's my personal investment property, and I ended up choosing another more competitive offer. All of a sudden, I'm getting calls and emails that she will reduce her fee from 3% to 2%, which, by the way, is a considerable sum as it affects my bottom line by $8,000. Let's call a spade a spade. She was being a vulture, but it was too late. I ended up honoring the terms of another accepted offer. Home inspection happens. Initial buyer makes a mountain out of the manhole, and the deal just falls apart. I went back to the other buyer, putting the house back on the market to see if they were interested at their final offer of $810,000 with a 2% COBRA. They were, but the agent was now wanting a 2.5% commission. I said, if this gets done at $810,000, then I'll do the 2.5% COBRA. She comes back and says, buyer will do $805,000. I told her, sure, but that $805,000 is at a 2% commission. And what do you know? All of a sudden, the buyer was agreeing to $810,000 with a 2.5% COBRA. That agent is a vulture and is one of the agents that give all agents a bad name. That buyer is getting taken advantage of and most likely has no idea. So what is the solution? Consumers want to pay less. I don't blame them. I want to pay less on things I buy too. Paying less on Diet Cokes would be very helpful for me. But you can't pay less and expect everything to stay the same. In other words, you can't expect to pay less and still get all the freebies that the industry gives to the public. Because we already talked about how the national average income for a real estate agent is less than the average national income. I promised you a solution earlier. So what is the solution? What is the win-win for all parties? Pay less, but pay for the services up front. Reduced risk means that the agent doesn't need to charge nearly as much. If you think that real estate agents are vultures, then you need to use a program like our Purchase Power Plan when buying a house. Pay by the hour and pay as you use the time of the agent. I just had a buyer that saved $9,000 on their home purchase by using the Purchase Power Plan. Going back to my neighbors next door, those guys purchasing the property would have probably saved upwards of $65,000 to $70,000 on that $3 million purchase. If you're looking to buy a house, then I'm happy to talk to you in more detail about the Purchase Power Plan and see if it makes sense for you, because it doesn't make sense for everyone. But if you're one of the folks who want to have your cake and want to eat it too, you're wanting to pay less when buying or selling a house, but expecting the same level of service and expecting all of the freebies, and to have an agent showing houses at 6 p.m. and seeing 15 houses on a Saturday and expecting an agent to work for free with the possibility of them never being compensated, then I would say that maybe you should look in the mirror when calling a real estate agent a vulture. The vulture in that scenario, it might just be you. It's Jeff Chubb, and I'm a recovering investment banker turned real estate agent and investor that sold more than 1,000 houses. If you have any questions in regards to real estate or are thinking about buying or selling a house, then please reach out, as it would be a true pleasure to help you. Until next time.